Hello everybody, it's Tommy the Keyblade Master here, and it looks like I somehow managed to get myself stuck in an alternate dimension with a game that should have never existed. There's only one way out of here, and that is to review a game that should have never been created. It's time to review Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in Time Reshelled. Now, a lot of people hate this game, and I'm not one of its biggest fans. But is it as bad as a lot of people claim it to be? I mean, it's shown up on numerous Screw Attack's top 10 worst lists. Does it deserve it? I'm going to say no. However, what I see is a missed opportunity. Ubisoft had an opportunity to create the greatest Turtles in Time game ever. They could have taken what was good about the Super Nintendo game, and then what was still in the arcade game that had to be left out, like 4 players, and combine them together. Even if they chose those ugly-ass skins, we would have had a perfect Ninja Turtles game. Instead, what they did was just barely improve upon the original arcade game and left a lot out that the Super Nintendo did. What we get is a game that is far below what the Super Nintendo was. And then when you just look at the presentation, the stage design, and the character design Ubisoft chose, it just sucks out what charm was in the original arcade game. Because even though I bashed the original arcade game's gameplay, it did have a lot of charm to it. This remake does not. Hence why it's such a bad game. But enough complaining about the game, let's delve deeper into it and see exactly what went wrong here. The story in this is the exact same from the arcade game. Krang comes down, he steals the Statue of Liberty, and the Turtles have to go after it. But from this opening scene, it looks really cool. You have this belief you're in for a better experience. That quickly fades when you hit the first stage. But I will give Ubisoft credit, they did enhance the opening a lot. It just looks really cool in a comic book fashion. You only see how fugly it looks once you hit the first stage. And since this is the arcade game, you're going to start time traveling in the sewers and not in the Technodrome, and it just happens. It seems so stupid. Let's talk about what's easily the worst part of this game, and it's the graphics. Ubisoft really screwed up on the looks and presentation of this game. They're dark, they're dreary, they don't have any color. You compare it to the other 2 versions, which are these bright and colorful cartoonish games, and you go, what the heck happened? The Turtles themselves are okay, I guess. They're more of the 4Kids design. However, the rest of the game just looks ugly. The areas that you battle through, for the most part, aren't very bright, aren't very colorful, and aren't very memorable, with the exception of maybe Neon Knight Riders. I did like the reskin of that. However, the rest of the stages are just utterly garbage. And then you got some of the boss characters, and because the 2 shows, the 4Kids version and the original, are so different in tone, these bosses just don't make sense in their design. Take a look at Krang. He looks like he's some reject from a B-rated horror movie from the 1980s. He just doesn't look like his cartoonish self. Now, I will be fair. In the original arcade version of Turtles in Time, Krang did have a toothier look to his design than he did in the original 1980s series, and then what he did in the Super Nintendo version. But just take a look at Ubisoft. Yeesh! I'll put my opinion of the graphics in this way. Rather than increasing my enjoyment of this game, the graphics just made me yearn for the classic games even more. Both the Super Nintendo version and the arcade versions are prettier games in my opinion. Even in those low-res 1990 quality sprites, because they look charming. This has no charm. And when a game makes you go back and reach for the 20-year-old version instead of the new version, it's a bad upgrade. Now let's take a quick listen to the music right now. Yeah, notice that this isn't the original classic music from the Super Nintendo game or the original arcade game. It sounds kind of generic and not as memorable. Now here's where I gotta cut Ubisoft some slack. This has to do with a copyright issue. Even Konami could not put the original arcade music in their port in the PS2 version that I used for footage. Listen here. Also not the same as the Super Nintendo version, so Ubisoft had some right issues when it came to this game. So they had to change the music. And if you ask me, the music's not a bad change. I'll take it over to what they did with the graphics. Of course, I will agree the best music still belongs to the Super Nintendo version in the original unaltered arcade version. Take a listen. So much better. As far as voice acting, all the 4 kids actors returned to voice their own turtle, so you get a sound clip from each turtle for each action, and that is kind of a nice touch that the original one didn't have, as it was one synthesized voice for all 4 turtles. And I liked the voice acting that the 4 kids did with the Ninja Turtles, and it still fits here, unlike the graphics. Alright, let's talk about the gameplay. Contrary to what a lot of people say about this game, it is actually an improvement over the original. At least the original arcade game, which was button mashy and not always responsive on the controls, at least the port I played. This one has more responsive controls. You can attack in all directions, as can the enemies, making the action a lot more frantic. Unfortunately, it goes right off of the arcade and adds nothing to what the Super Nintendo brought us. The Super Nintendo, with its smooth controls, with its ability to allow you to slam enemies, the ability to throw them at the screen using manual controls, is all gone. It is now all automatic, and these things take you out of the gameplay rather than add to them. Gone also now from the Super Nintendo version is the Technodrome stage. That awesome stage that really was fun to play, had 3 really great boss fights in it, is now gone. Gone now also are the bonus stages for Sewer Surfing and Neon Night Riders. They are now just your standard side-scrolling brawling stages that they were in the arcade game, and not half as fun as the Super Nintendo bonus games. Nor do they give you extra points or one-ups. This is kind of lame. I liked the bonus stages that the Super Nintendo turned these into. They were nice, quick, fun distractions as you played through the game. Here, these stages are actually tedious and kind of frustrating, with the spikes that you have to dodge in the sewers, and with just the overall difficulty of Neon Night Riders. It showed Konami's wisdom at the time to take these 2 stages and completely rehaul them for the Super Nintendo version. And let's talk about the boss fights now. Remember the awesome Toka and Razar fight you had in the Technodrome? Well, since the Technodrome is gone, they're now back to the pirate ship as bosses. And they're just lame, button-mashing, frustrating hell of a boss fight that they were in the original arcade game. They are not fun here. What about Slash? He was fun at the end of Prehistoric Turtlesaurus. He could block you. You had to wait until you either rolled or was open to an attack before you went in there and beat him with a combo. Nope. Here, you're back to fighting this generic ooze monster again. What about the Rat King? He was really fun at the end of the sewer surfing level to add in a nice spice at the end of that bonus stage. Here, you're just fighting against these pizza monsters, and ugly-looking pizza monsters at that, until Shredder appears to send you back in time. All the fun and clever boss fights that were in the classic Super Nintendo game have been pushed aside, and we're back to the arcade awful button mashing that just doesn't hold up well. Now, I feel legitimately sorry for Ubisoft when it comes to this game. I'm pretty sure when they made it, they thought they were doing a really great thing for the fans. They may not have gotten the full rights from Konami and some of the other license holders of Ninja Turtle stuff to re-release the arcade game onto Xbox Live, but they were going to do a remake and try to bring it to another generation. Unfortunately, they did not look at the Super Nintendo game, which is equally important. A lot of people have played the Super Nintendo who may have never touched the arcade or who may not have ever gotten really far in it. You have got to spend some time with the arcade version and the Super Nintendo version to see the difference. But when you see that difference, it is glaring. And a lot of people who have played the Super Nintendo game, beaten the Super Nintendo game, and may have never gotten far into the arcade game are going, what the heck? After the end of Stage 3, when they were whisked off back in time without the Technodrome stage. Ubisoft should have taken this project and looked at how can we get the elements from the arcade game that were missing in the Super Nintendo game and blend them into this one perfect Ninja Turtles game. Even with that ugly look that this game had, if it had that Technodrome stage, if it had those tighter controls of the Super Nintendo, we would have still gotten one of the best Ninja Turtles games, at least from a gameplay perspective, that we've ever gotten. Instead, we have gotten a gameplay that hasn't aged well in the last 25 or so years, and a game that has absolutely no charm in its looks and designs. Even though I bashed this original arcade version for aging like milk, it still has some charm. It knows what cartoon it is licensed from. It knows how to do it, and it does it well. Ubisoft's Turtle in Time Reshelled doesn't know what cartoon series it's going to go after. It doesn't know if it should try the original, if it should try the 2007 movie, if it should try the 4Kids movie, and it is just a mess to look at. It has no charm whatsoever, and because it has no charm, nor does it have any gameplay that is fun to back it up, it becomes a tedious mess real fast, which is just a shame. You do see at parts that some love did go into this product, and it's a shame that it never really gets to us, the player, that often. In the end, this game has been pulled, so I'm not even going to give a rating or recommendation for it. Ubisoft lost the license to Ninja Turtles a couple of years ago, so this game was pulled when it happened. Activision now has that license, but I don't see Activision going out and trying to get the licenses from Ubisoft or anything else that it needs to put this game back on. Nor do I see any fan pressure to do it, because this game is not that great. It's unfortunate that with digital-only games that once they're pulled, they are gone for good, so no one is ever going to be able to purchase this game again. But at the same time, I'm not feeling too sorry for it. It deserves to go into the trash can of history. While not terrible, it is not great. So, like I said, it's no big loss in my opinion. Unfortunately, the worst Ninja Turtles game is still available and on sale for those downloadable marketplaces. But I'll be getting to that in a few weeks. Now, with this mediocre game reviewed, I should be able to go home now. Woo! That was a rush. Well, it looks like I've managed to land in a place that actually has a background. While it definitely looks like it needs some improvement, it's better than the white background I've been using, so I think I'm going to keep it. I have a TV for displaying images from the games. It looks like I have some crappily drawn game consoles, so it looks like it will do for now. In the meantime, my next review will be on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Hyperstone Heist. It is the last Ninja Turtles game that I own that is based on the original series, and it is not as good as Turtles in Time for the Super Nintendo, but it is a peg or two above the crap I've just been playing. So, click on the subscribe button if you wish to see it in a few days.